that now.
Oh, sure. Nobody cares. And they have an ATM there, people.
So that's one thing.
Oh, okay.
Do they fill that thing?
No.
I kind of think that's like, that's not in New York. So
Yeah, they just wrap a rope around that, drag it off, goes in the back of the pickup. And away you go. I have no idea how it works, honestly. But I'm gonna read with them about it, so it's interesting.
Oh, you said.
Okay, this meeting is being recorded. You probably need to unmute yourselves then.
Oh.
So I'm going to call the August 30th, 2021 meeting of the Matured Fire District to order. Could I have roll call, please, starting with the treasurer? Prudential.
That's that Prudential.
Mark Lynch, Prudential.
Charlie.
Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
United States of America, to which is one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's do the minutes first. Everybody have a chance to review them.
Yes.
Yes.
Corrections or additions, subtractions.
No.
No. I'll accept a motion to accept the minutes of the July 26, 2021 Prudential Committee meeting.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Is there any public comment? Seeing none, no public comment. Treasurer?
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Just one more line. I was going to say that there's nothing exciting in the first month of the year. But,
I don't know who that is.
it is not. It is now, the
I think we all know.
Charlie, when you mute yours.
There you go. Go ahead and do what you can do. Speaker.
I don't know what you did, but it's all fine.
Yep, it's all fine.
Would you go? It is noticeable that the tax collections for the first month were very strong. Our target is 8%, and we've already collected 14% of the budget. And what I'm using for the budget normally, as I'm sure most of you are aware, we get the figure set for the tax revenue at the tax recap in November. And we're formally notified of that in December. The number I am using is the number that we used at the town meeting to describe what the taxes would be to support the budget that we had approved at that meeting. So it is consistent with what the public has had in front of them before. So we'll use that as our measure until we get to December and have the actual official tax figures to use. That said, the water department also put in a very strong month. Actually, the revenue was up 80% over last year, reflecting the increased usage by the water department in this July. Over last year, as we all recall, last year was a very high month, high summer as well. So indicates that we're going to have some pretty strong water revenue for the summer period at least. Fire department, primarily the ambulance revenue is tracking just a little bit above budget, down from last year, but still on budget. And then finally, in the other category, we have the $106,000 COVID, I'll call it grant, but it was actually the reimbursement for the COVID expenses that we incurred in fiscal 20. On the expenditure side, the Prudential is at 33%, but that doesn't reflect the actual performance. We have a one-time insurance payment or property and casualty of $117,000, which distorts that membership measurement. We're still very much on or below budget in the Prudential area. In the fire department, 5%, well below budget. Water department, even lower at 3%, and even lower yet, Freedom Hall. We haven't been able to have the gentleman in to do work, so we have a slow start in that area. Debt service won't be due for quite a while, and that's only long-term debt. We have liquidated all our short-term debt with last year's refinancing. In the benefit area, again, we're distorted by the one-time payment that we make to the County Retirement Board on July 1st, and that's an amount of $323,000, which distorts that measurement. Otherwise, we're moving on budget. And the rest is things to come. On the next page, I'm talking about special articles, and it's worthwhile to spend just a minute to set the stage for those as we go through the year. The first one is the space needs study, and we're beginning the year with $42,687 in that particular line item. That is made up of the $11,000 from the original space study, plus the $31,000 from closed projects last year. Then at the annual district meeting, the voters approved $207,000 for the cost studies and maintenance of the property once it's acquired. They also approved $45,000 to fund the transfer expenses. We're not sure what those are going to be. Hopefully they'll come in substantially less, but at least we have provided for that expenditure. The backup ambulance, which is funded this past year, is been identified. The order will probably be placed next month. And the deputy chief's replacement, the order has been placed, it just has not been delivered yet. The water department security continues. That's been an ongoing project for a number of years.
Eons.
Yeah, just about eons. And it should wrap up this year as promised last year. Hopefully the guys will wrap it up this year. The fire station repairs are well underway. We have $40,000 going into this year, and all related that most of the work had been done. There was still some things to be done. So we have adequate provision for that. Next, we have the water tank balance, which is comprised of the money that was left over for the articles related to the Main Street tank. It appears that $180,000 of that is available for projects 10 years or less, and $132,000 appears, and I keep saying appears, as if we really haven't had the final determination of that. But it appears that that's only available for longer term projects. Translating then that into what the school committee is working on if we decided to acquire and demolish the building, there would be 180 available. If we decided to acquire and rehabilitate that, the whole 312 would probably be available. And that, the reason for that is the original funding for the projects, 180 and 132 left over from the tank, were financed either by 10-year money or 30-year money. And so that's why what's left can only be spent in the wisdom of our great state of projects of equal life. Hence the economy between the 180 and the 132. Mark, is that?
Yeah, Ray, when you say it's being determined, who is determining that?
I have to take the arguments from Hilltop and possibly a consultant to the state and convince them that the 180 was really 10-year money and the 132 may or may not be 30-year money.
What's Hilltop? What's Hilltop, did you say?
Hilltop, what's Hilltop? Hilltop is our financial advisor, the one who advised us in the, both the financing of that bank and the refinancing. We've used them for a number of years. And they would be an advocate. They had the records about this financing, because this all really happened prior to my coming. And they have the records that will be useful in supporting any determination I get with the state.
And so some of this money may be available for the school project, even though it was presumably financed for some other purpose.
That's right.
And
It would have to be repurposed by the district, but it is available to be repurposed.
got it.
The other two sheets just tell the revenue and expenses that I mentioned. Are there any questions on the financial report? Or any more details that I'd like to on either revenue or expenditure?
Well, I just had, not a question, but a clarification. Remember at our last meeting, we discussed what we may be owed still intact, uncollected in previous years. Remember, and then we had that clarification. Could you just say it to me for the record?
Sure.
Why we were behind?
We were using a number that was double what the preliminary number that the town of Barnstable gave us. We didn't adjust on the income statement for the final figure that we got in December. Once we did that, the collection was still in line with the historic reform. To avoid that problem again, I'm using the representative tax. So we will not have that confusion this year.
Right. Just for the record.
Oh, yeah. And the upshot is that we are well on track with our tax collections so far this year.
I'm sorry.
So we are well on track for our financial collections this year so far.
Exactly. We're slightly ahead this year.
Great.
Another thing I wanted to talk about was I spoke with the auditors, and Roselli and Clark now audit all 5 fire districts. And they have decided that they are going to do all the fire districts, save one, in January. And the reason for that is that because fire districts rely on the town and the county to a certain extent for their information, things do not come in the same fashion when they wanted to complete their audit on a timely basis. So they wanted to wait until everything was in. Barnstable Village still wanted to have their audit done in August and September. And according to the auditors, they paid premium. I don't know That was, they paid a premium to have that done. And he said he would do it if someone else wanted to pay a premium. On behalf of the committee, I declined that opportunity. Because I think that falls at the same time we had last year, and it won't interfere with the state reporting or anything else. One other thing that I have been asking him for, and that was for a special review of how I had recorded the refinancing. Refinancing in a commercial world is complicated but doable. When you get into the municipal world, it really gets complicated, and in order to ensure that we're presenting the numbers properly to the state, and more importantly, for free cash consideration, I asked for a review. What the auditor said was two things. One, he's pressed for time, and second of all, because it smacks of reporting may impinge on his independence to advise me on how to report a transaction, and then upon the transaction, he wanted me to refer to a consultant. The consultant he referred me to was Bill Farber, and Bill Farber was the auditor for the Comm and Hyannis previously. Those accounts were taken over by Tony Roselli, but Bill Farber is still doing projects. And I would like to engage Bill to take a look at how my entries, my proposed entries, would conform with what he would expect in municipal accounting. It'll probably be about $1,000 fee, but it is chargeable against the proceeds of the refinancing. And there are surplus funds in the refinancing to accommodate that. So with your permission, I will go forward with that. And
Do we have to make, I can mute myself. Do we have to move or make a motion to do that? How would you phrase that? I move that we allocate.
the treasurer be allowed to utilize consultant services to finalize the recording of the refinancing.
I move that.
Okay, and up to what amount?
I would say he's charging $150 an hour. If we say one day, it would be $1,200.
As amended, I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That's all I have.
I just have a couple of questions. So this one-time property and casualty insurance payment, does this happen at the same time every year?
Yes.
Okay, so we always have this.
We always have, we don't phase our budgets, you would have any commercial enterprise on there, where you set aside that amount in the month of July. We have an annual budget. We're called an annual order, we don't really make distinctions or make discrete budgets on one.
Okay. Is there any mechanism by which those kind of, and because I have the same question about the benefits too, it's a big lump sum that distorts the percentages. Is there any way to smooth that out from an accounting perspective only, so that we have a sense of what our
Well, if
budget
you go
is?
back to the expenditure page, the last page. And at the very top, you see the Prudential expenses?
Yes.
I've carved out that one-time expense and segregated it from the other operating expenses of the Prudential committee. So you can see that the other expenditures are somewhere in the neighborhood of 6%. where the insurance costs $149,000, property and casualty $112, we still have workers' comp for the fire department and water, two separate policies to expense that. So you can track the non-insurance expenditures on that third one. And then similarly, down in the two paragraphs up from the bottom, if I can call them paragraphs, I've segregated the retirement of $323,000, which shows that at 100%, but the others at 15 and 14. And I would point out, it's probably a good opportunity to talk about that. We paid 2 months in the month of July and no expenditure for health insurance in June. So we always run a month ahead on health insurance. And the medical option is paid quarterly. So at 27%, we're on budget with that. So while I don't phase it, I pull it out here so you can track
Okay. And I guess the other answer to my question is that these were budgeted items that are paid once a year. So they are firm budgeted items. It's just a matter of when they're getting paid.
it. Right.
Okay, thanks. Then the other question I had, and I may not phrase this correctly, but the last 2 years, there has been substantial increase in revenue for the water department because of the increased water rates.
Correct.
Where is that money going? Is it just being applied against the water department and fire department budgets? Or is that considered excess in some kind of pool? I assume that there are some marginal additional costs for pumping additional water, but other than that, it's kind of surplus revenue.
All revenue flows to the district, whether it's tax revenue, water rates, or ambulance collection.
Okay.
It all flows to the district. There's only one way to enter it, and that's this district. So all revenue flows to the district. Where it goes, and I think the way to answer it goes to the bank account, but I think
Right.
what you're asking is, it would form part of the undesignated fund balance of the district going forward. It is net of the expenditures for Prudential, fire department, and water department, and Freedom Hall. Those expenses, the departmental expenses, are netted against the total revenue to give us, if you will, the retained earnings, which in municipal terms is undesignated fund balance.
Okay.
So the answer in commercial terms would be, it goes to retained earnings.
Is there, for comparison purpose, is there a way to kind of take out that what I'll call excess or surplus or additional income over the last 2 years and compare it to our current budget? I'm interested in knowing how much of this.
Compare it to current expenditure.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell me what you're trying to do. I mean,
Okay. As I said, I wasn't sure I was going to get it right. I just there is this, what I keep calling excess or surplus income. And I'm wondering what we're using it for, other than if it just goes into the general fund and we're using it for what goes in and has to certify then it's following fiscal year's free cash.
Exactly.
Free cash.
So it shows the free cash, which you shall use in the annual budget, which will basically reduce tax.
Okay, that's, I guess, was the question I was getting at.
So the easiest way to see that, that's pointed out, is the amount of articles funded by free cash.
Okay.
For this, for our last.
No, I was just gonna say, prior to the change in the water rates, basically, property taxes, people's property taxes funded a huge amount of basically the water department's operations. And that's one of the reasons that the rates were changed.
Right.
So that, we actually knew how much, they were spending in, the rates hadn't been changed in 12 years. But prior to that, it was property taxes would be that big chunk that you're talking about that supported everything.
So I think the answer to my question is that additional funding is being used to reduce tax rates.
Definitely.
Very least
I'm sorry.
at the very least maintain the tax rate.
Yeah, but I mean, reduce it from where otherwise would be those metal revenues.
Okay. Well,
And for instance, if the district meeting this year was not part of the space needs, and the school committee funding would be proceeds that were certified free cash as a result of the water rate increase.
All that money
Right.
was funded by free cash. Right.
We added a
Okay.
stabilization fund for water too.
Yeah,
That's it for me, right?
So, update on the Katuitt School Committee?
So the negotiating committee, which is consists of Jim Danhausen and Jackie Barton and myself, met with Andy Clyburn and David Anthony about 2 weeks ago. We are scheduled for another meeting on September 14th. Just trying to think if there's anything we need to go into executive session about. I don't think so. The meeting was productive. I think that there is interest on the part of the town to potentially do a deal along the lines that we laid out before the village and for which we got approval. Topics for September 14th will include a draft conservation restriction, which David Robinson put together for us, which would cover what we're referring to as the park portion of the property, which is the tennis courts and the baseball field, which is in terrible shape. And it would prohibit the use of chemical fertilizers on that field, which will not help the condition of the field much, but will accomplish our goal of keeping the water quality. Also, another item is to try to get some further delineation of the possible costs of demolition where we could go that way. As you know, what we have is a town PowerPoint with a $756,000 number for potential demolition. We're looking to see if they have any background for that. I think they do. I've been in contact with Dan Santos, who promised me some materials. But it is at least 1.5 years old, so it will be substantially more than that. But what substantially means, we don't know. And this group may want to consider how we can, depending on what we get from the town, how we can firm that up. That is, have a demolition estimate that we perhaps would be more comfortable with. We have no reason to think that the town, didn't do a perfectly adequate job, but it is the town's number.
Have you seen the Essence report?
The Habib report?
Habib report?
Yes, yeah. And my informed guess is that they relied heavily on that report and background for getting their number. But I just want to make it clear that that number is a little soft and definitely low.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure it is.
How much low? Perhaps when we get these additional materials, I'll have a better sense of what to be able to tell you. But, and that's where we stand with that.
So one question I have, which may not be germane, but so any fund, the funds that we set aside for the state's needs at last district meeting, those are they dependent upon the acquisition of the property to use in reference to property, or can we fund someone to go down there and say, do a full review of the building and see how much it will be to be demolished? We have to come back and do it.
We have to own the property.
Right, that's what I figured.
You have to own the property.
So say for instance, if we wanted to,
Part of the $45,000 acquisition was the necessary study to acquire the property.
right, that's what I guess, I don't
I
remember
would
the exact
think
language
for
of.
$45,000, the way it was presented at the meeting, would allow for some of those expenditures. I understood they're necessary to the acquisition. They would be allowed to be expended out of that article.
I think that number was mostly for heating oil costs, wasn't it? That
No,
45.
it's for legal fees.
Legal
Okay.
fees, transfers, maintenance.
My personal view is that I don't, I think the district clearly states that they want the building. And I realize that we need a firm number on anything that we do with the building. But I don't want the acceptance of the building to be conditional on how much it's gonna cost to do anything to it.
I agree. That's my feeling too. I feel, well, I mean, as a state committee in the negotiation with towns, that any sticking points, you know what I mean? I feel like we've already kind of gone on, we do want the property, we do want the building, or well, the building, if such as it is. And, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? How much time should we spend negotiating or trying to sell all these different numbers when the end result is already kind of determined by the.
Well,
by the vote.
I think the answer to that is that, you know, we made representations to the village.
Right.
About what the possible expenses were. Now, I think the number we used there was a rough estimate of $1 million for the demolition, which is substantially more than the one estimate we have in hand, 25% more almost. So I have some comfort there. But I think if, you know, we were to find that it was substantially more than that, you know, we might have to go back again. But as I said, right now we have a pretty substantial buffer, at least from a demolition perspective, on what we think it's going to cost.
Well, once the base needs is completed, that, you know, part of that is a demolition. Then we need to have a special district meeting. You know, to decide which one of those options we want.
And I guess, yeah, I wonder what the threshold is. I mean, maybe, you know, is there a concern among people that there will be a top line number that will be too high? And then it will say goodbye to this process, you know what I mean? You know, should we, I suppose it's now obviously because we had the district value fund studies that apparently, you know, theoretically never occurred and so on. But will there be a number? That's what I wonder. That is too high for people, say if it was, you know, $2 million or something, that they'd say, well, let's just let that go and see what becomes of it. I don't feel
The
that's
likely. The answer to that may be no, but I can't imagine it would cost $2 million to demolish it. But if that were to be the number, I think we would definitely want to go back and ask the village again. Sorry, we thought it was $1 million, which was generous, but it turned out to be $2. We won't ask that question again.
I think they've gone to put out the RFP for demoing the middle school, which should be a really good gauge.
I think, well, I absolutely agree. It will be a really good gauge, and that's one of the questions I have outstanding to Dan Santos.
The only other thing is, I have concerns about, owning the recreation. I know that, some people would like to take over all of it, including the recreation fields. And I just have all kinds of concerns about the district owning recreation fields, in terms of maintenance, upkeep, liability, and it's not like any, it's not like we'll be, I mean, we charge people to use Freedom Hall. So it doesn't cover all the expenses, but, we're gonna start charging people to use those, those fields.
So the plan or the proposal right now is that those park fields will remain with the town with a conservation restriction. They were, I think, reasonably sympathetic to the idea that, with their portfolio of all the parks they have, they can much more easily and cheaply insure from a liability perspective, they can maintain it more cheaply. They were open to that line. So yeah, we're of the same view. You don't want to own, the village doesn't want to own the tennis courts and the field, the baseball field.
Yeah, I don't want to pay maintenance for the maintenance of twice. Town's not gonna deduct their taxes.
Right, so that's where we stand on that right now. Hopefully it remains that way.
Now, the parking lot. Bane of my existence. For at least the past 2 years, this would be the 3rd year. Someone with an electric Tesla, whatever it is, parks their car over in that corner, and then goes wherever they go. On the boating trip, flying away, who knows? And this year, usually it stays for 2 weeks. This year it was there for 3 weeks. And
Unmoved the whole time, just sitting.
just sitting there. And there was another car, or Mercedes next to it, but that was there for 2 weeks. And there's a sign on the building that says no overnight. The guy with the electric car, I've left him notes explaining that he can't park in a parking lot at night because, other people use it. So we need to, the chief kindly got in touch with the police department to find out what we need to do. And so they suggested that we engage Capeway Towing. And so when we have somebody who's here, like apparently 2 cars down there right now, somewhere, that we can call Capeway Towing and they'll just take them away. And we just post it, we need I did get 2 signs when we originally put up a new sign and put one on Freedom on the lodge, which didn't even last 8 hours. Someone stole it.
Seriously.
Yeah, off the building, up high. So I haven't replaced that one yet. But there's another sign that's down here, that's probably from the 50s, that you can't read it anymore. So that needs to be replaced. And then I want to put a sign over in that corner on a post that says, no parking or you'll be towed. So.
And what would be the cost? Is it, they retain them as nothing, but or do you have to pay them a certain?
No, there's no cost to us.
Right, it's just that we engage them as our agent in that, and then the person pays at the time, and we exercise our right to.
The lodge now has to put a sign out for where the master does his spot. So
Really?
nobody takes the master's, spot.
I know, I've been fighting the parking game this whole summer too. It's been really brutal. So far as just everyone parking everywhere and going off and doing their thing.
Yeah, not, so I'd like permission to engage at Capeway Towing to, tow any necessary vehicles that are parking overnight in our parking lot, and also get 2 new signs.
I'd be okay with that as long as the signs come first.
Oh, yeah.
And they're up and posted and.
Well, it's already posted. There's a legible sign on the building.
Yeah.
But
And I imagine it won't be just, it'll be the repeat offenders and people who will park their cars there and just be gone for
Yeah.
weeks on end.
Yeah.
It won't be every last person who will
No.
tow away.
People park to go for a walk or, people, park to go use their boats, but they're not here overnight.
No.
And they're certainly not here for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So.
I'm fine with that. I mean, personally.
So could I have a motion to purchase, to engage Gateway Towing and purchase, 2 signs for no parking.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Seconded again, as long as the signs are posted first before we ask
anybody.
Gateway to tell
Yeah.
anybody.
Not a problem. All those in favor?
Aye.
You can use that one. Is there any public comment?
Yes, I do. This is Carol Zace. Can you hear me?
So,
Can you hear me?
we have my calendar. Do you
Hi, this is Carol.
Aye.
This is Carol Zace. Can you hear me?
Monday?
Let's see.
Hello? Can you hear me?
I can't remember operate my telephone. Here we go. August, September. Is it? Yes, the 20th.
20th, okay.
Oh. Calendar. It's wake me up and
So, so
You
you're meeting
hear
the
me?
policy and advisory.
This is the 16th, I think so. That's what it was. Of September, right? That's Tuesday. Or Thursday. I think it might be the 13th, isn't it? I'll do you. I have it in my email. But it'll be prior to our upcoming meeting.
And I think it should be Zoom.
Yeah. I'm okay with that. I mean, have we not worked out the technological aspects of this?
Possibly.
50-50.
We're going down the right
I
road.
mean, I prefer to meet in person just because I like it better being on. So I would prefer to meet in person. It's gonna make it unnecessarily complicated for people to be involved in the meeting or to.
Hello?
for it to-
Can you hear me?
But for my part, I would prefer to meet in person.
Hello?
All right.
We do have a public comment. Carol has chatted.
Hello?
that She has a comment, but we can't hear her. However, she is unmuted. So I'm not sure. Yeah,
She'll have to use the chat function.
okay, so Carol, you have to use the chat function. Type
Okay.
in your question. Oh, I'm muted. Tell her that.
Carol, you need to type in chat, your chat question, please.
Here's feedback. So I guess that answers my question. Technological issues have not
Okay, thank you, Will.
And I just sent a message to her to see if she could type in a question. Should you wait to see?
So
if-
bylaws committee, I see. She has I was wondering why bylaws committee will meet. That was Carol's question.
Oh,
That was I got on my thing. I don't know. I don't even know very good at Zoom.
whatever the Prudential committee member responsible for that committee would like to meet. I really don't,
Should I just type in to be scheduled?
Is the feedback because we have the speaker going and then plus our, it being, our speaking plus the reverberation of the sound and then going in and our
I have no,
unmuted.
I have no idea.
So the next chat question from her is, can we go back to full Zoom meetings until tech is figured? Zoom meetings.
We stay home and Zoom from home, which is what the town of Barstow is doing.
All right, well, then I'll do that for the policy advisory committee then next. I just like to meet together. It's nice. I agree. It's much easier meeting in person.
Well. So. You know, I mean, it just,
Oh,
you know, if we continue to meet in person, we just may not be able to either solve this problem or we need to make a substantial financial investment in whatever we need.
I think that if we muted all were muted except for the person who was speaking at the moment. Or if we use the old microphone system and had all of us muted on Zoom, would that work? I'm not a technological person.
Listen to the last water commissioners.
Have they been having a similar issue?
Well, no, the last one was the first one they zoomed from here. And I believe they use microphones on these microphones, not the iPad phones, and it was extremely difficult
Same thing.
to hear them. I didn't hear any feedback. But, you know, I don't think this is an iPad. That's an iPad.
Right.
do you have one?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe we could ask Sarah.
We have, she came in and offered some suggestions, but her camera microphone doesn't work with this audio. The acoustics here are so bad, it doesn't work.
Any technological wizardry from the audience? No.
I don't know. My suggestion would be have some dedicated time to do some testing.
And figure out what it, right.
We've been doing that. Hard to believe, but we have been doing that. All right. I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor? Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye. A lovely meeting.